All right, what is going on, guys? So we are going to hop right into the Fidelity portfolio. Now, just give me a moment here while I sign in and the screen flips here for you guys for your great viewing pleasure. But what we want to talk about is the Fidelity aspect of the portfolio, and what I mostly want to touch on is the $1,600 in paper gains that I got today. So the portfolio as a whole has $336,000 within Fidelity. And just looking at my computer screen here, I have about $372,520 in the portfolio as a whole. Up pretty good in terms of everything. The only one I'm really going to cover today is my individual brokerage account, which is up over $1,300 just today alone, almost 1%. But overall, portfolio went up $1,600 just today, and like I said, there's another $35,000 that is in other portions of the portfolio which aren't included in this. So there's also potential to have another $300 or so additional capital gains that's not covered here. But we're just going to cover the majority of it here in the individual brokerage account. Accounts for about $148,000 in the portfolio here. 1 year rate of return is around 11.6% as of the end of October. So if you were to include November, I assume just with this amount in here as well, it'd probably jump this up close to 15%. But I think I did a video last week when my Roth IRA was over 20%, almost 21% return over the last year or so. So there's that aspect of things. Just give a quick look at the actual balance that I've had in the IRA or the individual brokerage account over the past year or so. You can see it jumped up from just under $100,000 or so over the past year to over $150,000 close to. And you see there's a large drop off there. That's when I was just moving some funds out of my brokerage account into my Roth IRA, as the year was able to allow me to put additional money into the IRA. Now, big gainers today are AbbVie, BlackRock, just scrolling through quickly, BPMP, Caterpillar, Chesapeake, but it's a small position, Google, Johnson & Johnson, Kinder Morgan, Cosmos Energy, 3M did okay, Altria Group up almost 3%, and then Square also did well as well, AT&T did well, and so those are just a quick rundown of the positions that did extremely well today in the portfolio. You can see the about the third or fourth column in here, the change in terms of dollar value compared to the stock price itself. AbbVie, can't believe it, it's already back up to $88 or so. Some folks were really hitting the fact that AbbVie was one and done. Who knows, maybe the capital gains are short-lived, but so far so good. Some folks were able to purchase at about a $64 range and be able to it went all the way down to $62.66. So some folks probably out there were able to purchase at $62.66 and are now sitting at almost $25 increase in share price just from about 6 months of timing there. So really good portfolio position at the moment, up 21 or 23%. For me, you can see in this very last column here, total capital gains here is about $1,700. I'm not selling this. I'm going to hold on to it for a very long time. Currently, the amount of money that's coming from this position, I actually just got paid a dividend yesterday or a couple days ago from AbbVie for about $100 and some dollars or so, but this pays me almost $500 a year in terms of dividend income. So for me, I'm just going to hold on to this bad boy. It's got a really good dividend yield. My yield on cost is about 6.6%. Current yield for the dividend is about 5.3%. So I don't necessarily plan on selling this bad boy. BlackRock didn't really go up all too much. It's only $38 for my portion of the portfolio. Went up about $6 today just from the individual share, but I'm up 16% on that. Bryn Mawr Trust, not really too large of a movement. Same with Bank of Nova Scotia. BP up a little bit. BPMP, I have about 500 shares of this bad boy, up just over $500 in terms of the capital appreciation of the total position, but up $135 today. Can't complain about this bad boy either. $670 or so in dividends that I get from this, although this has a partnership aspect to it, so the tax that I get paid on this is a little bit higher. But regardless, it's paying at about 8.8% dividend yield. My yield on cost is about 9.4%, but keep in mind that 8.8% gets hit a little bit when you start taking into account the additional taxes that I have to pay and the tax bracket that I'm currently in. Caterpillar, I've talked a lot about this one. It's up $1.87 compared to yesterday. I purchased it at $119 just over a month ago. I believe it was like first or second week of October. So within this past month, I'm already up over 20-something%, 21% or so. And it's up $71 today. Another great purchase, good enough for about $150, almost $160 in dividend income. A little bit lower yielding than the other ones that I mentioned. This one's yielding at about 2.8%, but my yield on cost, just based off of when I purchased it, is at 3.4%. So already a 0.6% increase of the yield just based off the purchase price that I've been able to get it at. But this is a long-term hold. Many people hold this. Bill Gates, many other billionaires hold Caterpillar. Their products and equipment are utilized year-round, but you can see the stock price went down all the way to $111, but I was able to purchase it at $119. So I can't complain with that. That's a long-term hold. It's a company that I've been kind of looking at in the past, but never found a really good entry point. I remember it dived really deep down in 2016 when there was a slight correction in the market, and I wish I had bought it in the $80 range, but now I'm able to purchase it at a pretty decent price here. What else do we have in terms of really good capital gains? Google doing pretty well. Purchased this for about almost just under $1,200 a share, up about 13% or so. It's up almost $2, good for almost $100 today just in capital gains. No dividend associated with this company. This is more of a long-term hold for me. But yeah, all-time highs almost for Google here, which is good news. Been holding on to that. It's been relatively volatile over the past couple months. 3% change here in Johnson & Johnson, just good for under $4 in share price. I know folks that were loading up in the $128 range. I personally was loading up on an average about $131, almost $132. So total overall increase for the position isn't too great, but I purchased this guy for the long-term dividends, of which I'm getting about $275 in dividends a year from this position. Good enough for about 2.9% yield on cost, 2.8% dividend yield consistently. And so that's that aspect of things. Cosmos Energy up about 2%, up 19% over the past 6 months or so when I purchased this. Good for $70. Cosmos Energy pays me about a $90 dividend per year, so just under $25 every single quarter, which is good to purchase 4 or 5 shares every single quarter. As you can see, I purchased 500 shares initially. With the dividend reinvestment, I was able to get almost 3.5 shares. And so this is a long-term growth play in the oil and gas sector. So they're obviously looking to open new plays in new areas and underexplored areas in oil and also potentially gas. So I will hold on to this for the long term, hoping that it potentially gets acquired by a larger oil and gas company. 3M did okay. Altria Group up almost 3%. You can see through the day trend that it started off not nearly up 3%, but throughout the day continued to grow. Good for an increase of $1.34 per share. Some folks were purchasing this all the way down in the $42 range. So congrats to those folks that were able to get it. It actually dipped down to $39.30. You can see on this 52-week range here, which is absolutely absurd if folks were able to get involved at that range. I only knew people were getting in at the 42s, but some folks, I'm sure, were able to time it perfectly and get in at the right time. I'm only up 4%, but I'm not holding this for the capital gains. Up 3% just today, which is good for $183 or so. In terms of what the actual dividend coming from this particular part of the position is about $460, so just over $110, $115. every single quarter, which I just got a dividend payment, I believe, from Altria Group this month. I am dividend reinvesting this bad boy. Was able to give me another couple shares worth, almost 2 shares worth of reinvested dividends. And current dividend yield coming from Altria Group is 7%. So you still are not out of the woods yet. I believe that this continues to have some room to grow up to maybe even the $50, $60 range for sure. Purchased many times folks were purchasing this in the $50, $60 range as well. So I personally would not be scoffing at it. It's been on a long downtrend. Has been $60 in over a year, but I believe that this is a long-term hold. Great cash flows coming from this organization. Currently sitting at a 7.3% yield on cost for me, so I can't complain about that. Another position that has increased this month, or this today rather, is Square, up $1.71 up to $64 per share, almost $65 a share. You can see that about 193% increase of this position, which is good for about $300 or so. Just today, up $12, so nothing too crazy. But I was able to purchase at about $22 a couple years ago, and I had almost 107 shares, I believe, at my largest point, at which I sold a decent amount of them via a covered call, and I made a video about that, so maybe I'll put that in the upper right-hand corner. But nothing too crazy about that one. Wish I had a little bit more shares, but it is what it is. AT&T up 55 cents, which is almost touching $40, which I can't believe. I was trying to purchase around $31, $32. So this is one of my better positions over the past couple years or so. Up almost to $2,000 in terms of capital gains, almost $120 just today. Can't complain about that. I mean, Jesus, being able to purchase this at a decent price. I personally am reinvesting the dividends that I get from this, but I believe that this is kind of run up in price. But the recent numbers that they're throwing off in terms of revenue and net income based off the recent merger, it's looking real good. So overall, just going to reinvest AT&T and Verizon shares and see where it gets to. In terms of dividend income that I'm getting from this, about $450 a year, which is pretty phenomenal, just over $112 per quarter. And current yield is about 5.2%, which is crazy because when I purchased it, it was yielding in the 6s. My yield on cost personally from reinvested dividends of the 200 and some shares that I own of AT&T is around 6.5%. Pretty wild. Not going to complain about that whatsoever. And that's relatively it. I mean, that is a decent bit. There's only a few red stocks in here today, and I don't know why some of these other ones didn't really move. Oh, probably Cathedral Partners just didn't move at all today. But only Phillips 66 is red here, and I believe I saw a different one. Icon Enterprises is red. Cheniere Energy Partners is red, but I recently just got a dividend from this and was able to purchase me another share and some change. So I can't complain about that. And what else is there? I thought there was another red one, maybe not. But overall, a pretty green day, can't complain. This was the majority of the gains of the entire portfolio, just up over $1,300, almost $1,350 out of the $1,600 or so that I was able to attain just from today. Pretty cool. Can't complain. This portion of the portfolio is up just about 12%, but some of it is buying and selling. And if you were to not include the fact that a lot of this is reinvested dividends, that number would be a lot higher. A lot of the growth has been coming from my reinvested dividends. For instance, Stag Industrial, let's do a quick look here. I purchased 100 shares of this for just over $2,000 or just under $2,000, and it says it's only a 50% return. But that being said, it's counting the 25 reinvested shares within my initial cost basis. So while it says the cost basis is around almost $2,600, that personally, to me, the cost basis is around $1,900, almost $2,000. But what it's counting there is the $500, almost $600 in dividends that I've received over the past 4 or 5 years and putting that in the actual cost basis price. So in actuality, when I look at my Stag Industrial and my personal sheet, which is the way I personally calculate it, it's an 83% return. So 33% of the value isn't being caught here just based off the fact that this is not a tax advantaged account, and based off of how Fidelity tracks things, they track dividends as actual separate investments for tax purposes. But when I check it, really, I just keep track of the 83% return. 6.8% yield on cost, which is phenomenal. Current yield is about 4.6%. Can't complain about this. It's been doing extremely well, almost doubled in price, and won't sell this bad boy for an extremely long time. It's up to $1,700, $170, almost $180 in dividend income. When I purchased it, it was like 110, maybe 120. So increased just over $50 or so per year, which is pretty cool. And yeah, that's relatively it. I mean, I got some other shares in here that I could share with you guys, but I think that's a good rundown. But let's take a quick look at the dividends that I received over the past couple days here. You can see Stag Industrial good for about $15, Realty Income Corp good for just under $5, Main Street Capital just for over $28, and Kinder Morgan just for under $29, or just over $29 rather. AbbVie good for $109. My $1,500 ad every 15th of the month. Cheniere Energy, I thought I got more than that, but I guess it was just 78. I thought it was 170 something. Maybe I was getting it confused with the BPMP position here, which returned over $167 just from the quarter alone. And for some of you guys that know, I'm not really reinvesting all my energy stock dividends that I get. So you can see I didn't really reinvest my Kinder Morgan. I didn't necessarily invest my BP Midstream Partners, but I did reinvest my Cheniere Energy Partners just because I think it's a very long-term play. And it's a slightly different situation. It's more of a cash flow LNG play rather than oil and gas. So while it is still sitting under energy per se, I kind of consider it a separate investment. But so far, so good. Although most of my dividends have been paid out thus far this month, I'm going to save that for a different video. But you can see relatively doing well with this part of the portfolio. Just over $6,600 specifically from the individual brokerage account. So that's good enough for over $500 a month. So hopefully you guys got a good glimpse of what it's like to have about $150,000 in an individual brokerage account. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section down below. We love to talk to you guys about that. And hopefully if you guys haven't already and you've stuck around, I did a live stream today with Passive Income Investors. A really good time just hanging out. Did a lot of video content with him today on some stuff that we're working on, which you guys will probably be privy to in the next week or so. So thanks guys, that's really relatively it, and gonna upload this, maybe do some quick editing on it, and I will catch you guys on the next video. Cheers.